Boredom is not always release. Conflict is not always a closed door. Difficulty is not proof that your assignment has ended. Write that down. Because many people make permanent decisions while passing through temporary emotions. They feel tired on Monday and begin planning an escape on Tuesday. They experience resistance and call it rejection. They lose recognition and conclude that they have lost purpose. But an uncomfortable room does not necessarily mean the door is closed. Here is the governing principle. Discomfort describes how a season feels. Completion describes what has happened to the assignment. Those are not the same thing. Feelings are signals, but they are not always verdicts. A signal tells you to examine something. A verdict tells you the matter has been decided. Never give a temporary feeling the authority to announce a permanent conclusion. So the first question cannot be, do I still enjoy this? Enjoyment changes. Energy rises and falls. Relationships experience tension. Even meaningful work can become repetitive, demanding, and invisible. The deeper question is this: what am I still responsible for here? That question will confront you. It will expose whether you are trying to leave because the assignment is complete or because your pride is wounded. It will reveal whether you need a new position or simply new discipline. It will show whether the season has ended or whether you have stopped managing yourself within the season. We will test your work season by 5 principles: remaining responsibility, continued contribution, integrity, growth, and orderly transfer. Is there meaningful work still entrusted to you? Can your gift still create necessary value? Can you remain without violating your conscience? Is the season still developing your capacity? And if it is truly complete, can you transfer what you carry without leaving confusion behind? These principles will protect you from leaving too early, but they will also liberate you from staying too long. Some people abandon unfinished work because departure feels exciting. Others occupy completed seasons because familiarity feels safe. Both mistakes allow emotion to govern purpose. You must learn the difference between an uncomfortable season and a completed assignment. And to recognize that difference, we must begin with a definition. What is a work season? A position is merely where you have been placed. An assignment explains why you were placed there. A position tells us where you sit. An assignment tells us why you are there. Your title may be manager, assistant, teacher, technician, director, or owner. But your title is not your assignment. Your assignment is the responsibility beneath the title. It is what you were expected to produce, protect, solve, strengthen, or develop. Never confuse the chair with the purpose of the chair. A person can occupy a position and neglect the assignment. Another person can lose the title and still carry the capacity developed through the assignment. This is why your identity must never become imprisoned inside a job description. A position is temporary placement. An assignment is purposeful responsibility. Now write this principle. A work season is not measured only by how long you have been there. It is measured by the life of the responsibility entrusted to you. Some assignments are completed quickly. Others require years of building, correcting, learning, and preparing people. Time alone does not prove completion. 10 years can represent faithful development, or 10 years can represent 1 year of growth repeated 10 times. The decisive question is not, how long have I been here? It is, what has happened to the responsibility? Entering a role gives you access. Fulfilling its responsibility gives the season meaning. So I want you to do something practical. State your original assignment in 1 sentence. Do not begin with your title. Begin with a verb. To build, to repair, to organize, to teach, to protect, to lead, to serve, to develop. Ask yourself, what problem made my presence necessary? Which people was I expected to strengthen? What process needed improvement? What promise required my participation? What result was I entrusted to pursue? You may discover that no one ever wrote the assignment clearly. Then reconstruct it from the needs that existed when you arrived and the value you were expected to create. If you cannot explain why you came, you will struggle to know when you are finished. Much confusion about departure begins with confusion about arrival. Work, therefore, is stewardship. You do not own the position. You manage the responsibility for a period of time. Leaving before that responsibility is fulfilled may be abandonment. Remaining after it is fulfilled may be attachment. neither honors purpose. Name the assignment. That becomes your baseline. Once you know what you were responsible for, you can examine whether it is complete, but first, you must separate true completion from the experiences that often impersonate it. Fatigue, boredom, conflict, stagnation, and value misalignment. These conditions may produce the same sentence: I cannot do this anymore. But the sentence does not tell you the cause. And if you misdiagnose the cause, you will prescribe the wrong response. Write this principle. Similar emotions can come from different conditions. The same frustration may require rest, initiative, reconciliation, development, protection, or release. Wisdom diagnoses the signal before obeying it. Fatigue is depleted capacity. When you are exhausted, every responsibility can appear meaningless. Your assignment may not be over, your strength may simply be low. Before you resign, ask, do I need rest, healthier boundaries, or renewed support? Never make a life-changing decision merely because your body and mind have reached the limit of an unhealthy pace. Boredom is reduced stimulation. It may indicate that your gift is underused, but it may also mean that you have mastered the obvious work and must now bring initiative to it. Ask, do I need a new assignment, or do I need to see a deeper possibility in this one? Conflict is relational damage or competing expectation. It can make the workplace feel closed when the real problem is an unopened conversation. Conflict may require boundaries. It may require courage. It may require reconciliation. But unresolved tension is not automatic evidence of release. Stagnation is different. Stagnation is prolonged absence of meaningful development or useful challenge. Yet even here you must be careful. A plateau can feel motionless while it is developing patience, judgment, and mastery. Ask, have I truly stopped growing, or has my growth become less visible? Value misalignment is more serious. This is not mere disagreement over personality or preference. It is pressure to participate in conduct that violates conscience, integrity, or safety. Serious harm, coercion, and unsafe conditions are not tests of loyalty. They require protection, clear boundaries, and appropriate support. Do not call preventable harm an assignment. Genuine completion is different from all of these. Completion means the essential responsibility has been fulfilled, or the assignment has changed so substantially that no honest mandate remains for you to continue. So examine the signal. Do I need rest? Initiative, reconciliation, development, protection, or release. Do not give 6 different conditions one careless answer. Diagnose before you decide. And once the false endings have been separated from true completion, we can begin with the most objective test of all. Is there still meaningful responsibility left in your hands? That is the first completion test. Is there meaningful responsibility left? Write this law carefully. An assignment is not finished because your enthusiasm has declined. It is finished when its essential responsibility has been fulfilled or legitimately transferred. Your emotions may have departed before your obligations have been completed. A new opportunity may be calling your name while an old promise is still carrying your signature. Excitement about tomorrow does not cancel accountability for today. So make an inventory. What promises remain open? Which critical projects still depend on your decisions? Who is waiting for knowledge, direction, approval, or development that you agreed to provide? Which recurring duties have no responsible owner beyond you? What consequence would your sudden departure create? Now be careful. This is not an invitation to believe that every unfinished task belongs to you. Work is endless. Your assignment is not. There will always be another email, another meeting, another improvement, another problem. Completion does not mean exhausting every possible task. It means identifying the essential responsibilities that carry your name, your commitment, and your accountability. Ask a harder question. If I leave now, will I create ordinary inconvenience, or will I expose a preventable breach? Every transition causes inconvenience. People adjust, schedules change, roles are reassigned. That alone should not imprison you. But if a promise is broken, a person is abandoned, essential knowledge disappears, or a critical responsibility is left without warning, that is not inconvenience. That is neglected stewardship. You do not need to become indispensable. In fact, healthy leadership prepares others to continue. But there is a difference between being indispensable and being accountable. Indispensability says, nothing can function without me. Accountability says, what was entrusted to me will not be carelessly abandoned. Do not use a new door as permission to vanish through the old one. Your examination can produce 3 honest conclusions. First, responsibility remains, and you must complete it. Second, responsibility remains, but it can be formally transferred to someone prepared to carry it. Third, the responsibility has ended or changed so completely that there is no meaningful assignment left to fulfill. Before you announce a departure, write an unfinished responsibility list. Keep it concise. Name the commitment, the person affected, the consequence of neglect, and the action required for completion or transfer. This list will free you from vague guilt because it replaces emotion with evidence. It will also restrain impatience because it makes stewardship visible. But responsibility alone is not the entire test. You may still have duties while your deepest contribution has already been exhausted. So the next question is not merely, is there work left? It is, can my gift still create necessary value here? This is the second test. Can your gift still make a necessary contribution? Write this law. Presence without contribution eventually becomes occupation. But difficulty in contributing does not mean contribution is impossible. You were not placed in a role merely to fill space. Your presence should release value. Therefore, do not answer this question with your job title. Identify the strongest value you currently create. Do you solve complex problems? Bring order to confusion. Develop people. Protect quality. Build trust. Create direction. Your title names the container. Your contribution names what you pour into it. Now test that contribution. Is it still needed? Is it welcomed? Can you connect it to responsible outcomes? Does it still serve the direction in which the organization is actually moving? This requires honesty, because a gift can be blocked without being obsolete. Perhaps your ability is necessary, but leadership does not recognize it. Perhaps the structure restrains it. Perhaps expectations are unclear. A blocked contribution may require a courageous conversation, a new proposal, clearer authority, or greater initiative. But a gift can also be valuable and no longer required in a particular place. That is not rejection. A key may be perfectly formed and still belong to a different door. Imagine a useful tool lying on a workbench. It may be unused because it is in the wrong workshop, but it may also remain exactly where it is needed while its owner refuses to pick it up. Do not accuse the environment before examining your initiative. Have you proposed solutions or only criticized problems? Have you developed others or protected your expertise? Have you asked for greater responsibility? Have you used the authority already available to you? Have you demonstrated the contribution you claim there is no room to make? Then examine the environment itself. Has the organization changed direction? Has your assignment narrowed until your central capacity has no meaningful outlet? Have you grown beyond every responsible avenue of service available there? If so, remaining may preserve a position while wasting a contribution. You must reach one of 3 honest conclusions. There is contribution left, and I must make it. Contribution is possible, but conditions must change. Or, my essential contribution here is complete. Do not exaggerate your importance, but do not bury your gift. Humility is not pretending that your contribution does not matter. Humility is submitting that contribution to purpose. Yet this test becomes painful when your value is still necessary, but no one seems to appreciate it. And that is where many people confuse invisibility with release. We must now confront the wound of working without recognition. There is a dangerous moment in every assignment. The work is still necessary, but the worker no longer feels seen. When contribution goes unrecognized, the heart can declare the season finished before the responsibility is complete. You begin to say, they do not appreciate me, so I must not belong here. But write this principle. Recognition rewards contribution. Recognition does not create responsibility. It is legitimate to desire respect. It is reasonable to expect honest credit, fair compensation, useful feedback, and appropriate support. Being valued is not vanity. Yet the desire to be valued becomes dangerous when it turns into a demand for constant affirmation. If applause becomes the source of your excellence, silence will become the end of it. So ask yourself the uncomfortable question: do I want to leave because the work has ended or because the applause has ended? Watch what invisibility can produce. You begin to withdraw. You reduce your excellence. You stop offering ideas. You compare your recognition with someone else's. You carry secret resentment into every meeting. Then any new place that promises immediate appreciation begins to look like purpose. But wounded pride is a poor career counselor. Do not build a silent exit upon assumptions you have never tested. Have the mature conversation. Clarify expectations. Ask how your contribution is being evaluated. Address credit, compensation, development, authority, and support. Speak truth without accusation. Listen without surrendering discernment. Sometimes the environment is unaware of what it is failing to acknowledge. Sometimes you are unaware of what your leaders actually require. And let us be equally clear, staying is not automatically noble. Persistent exploitation, deliberate dishonesty, and patterns of unfair treatment must be named. Purpose does not require pretending that injustice is acceptable. Those matters belong under the test of integrity, and they may require boundaries, correction, or departure. Here is a revealing exercise. Imagine that tomorrow your work is publicly recognized. Your contribution is praised. Your title improves. Your value is affirmed before everyone. Would your desire to leave disappear? If the answer is yes, your assignment may not be over. Your pride may be injured. Address the wound without allowing it to rewrite the assignment. If the answer is no, then your concern may reach deeper than recognition, and the remaining tests must examine it. Recognition tests your motive. Integrity tests the environment. So now we must ask a more serious question. Can you continue in this role without becoming someone you should not be? This is the third test. Can you remain without violating integrity? Write this law. No assignment gives you permission to surrender your character. The result matters, but the method matters also. If reaching the target requires you to become dishonest, destructive, or divided within yourself, the position is demanding a price that purpose never authorized. But discern carefully. Preference conflict is not always value conflict. You may dislike a leader's style, disagree with a decision, or struggle with a colleague's personality. That can be uncomfortable without being unethical. Not every correction is persecution. Not every compromise in preference is a compromise in character. Maturity requires you to know the difference. So replace general discomfort with exact questions. What does this role require me to approve? What am I being asked to conceal? What conduct am I expected to perform? What kind of person am I becoming in order to remain? Then name the value at stake. Is it honesty, safety, fairness, respect, responsibility? Do not merely say something feels wrong. Identify the principle, identify the conduct, and identify the consequence. Clarity turns vague unease into an integrity assessment. Next, ask whether the conflict can be corrected. Does it require clarification, a firm boundary, a conversation with leadership, formal escalation, a redesigned responsibility, a principled refusal? You should not leave before testing a responsible remedy when a remedy is possible. Courage may mean staying long enough to speak truth, but courage may also mean leaving. Do not spiritualize preventable harm. Do not call coercion loyalty. Do not call silence wisdom when serious misconduct requires action. When safety or serious wrongdoing is involved, protect yourself and others, preserve appropriate documentation, and seek qualified support. Endurance is not a virtue when it becomes permission for harm to continue. There are two honorable conclusions. The first is I can remain, establish boundaries, and practice courageous integrity. The second is the demands of this role can no longer be reconciled with my conscience, so I must prepare to leave responsibly. Hardship may be endured for purpose. Integrity must never be traded for position. Now we have examined responsibility, contribution, and integrity. Yet all three can remain while a season slowly loses its power to prepare you for what comes next. Therefore, one more question must be asked. Is this assignment still producing the growth required for your future responsibility? This is the fourth test. Is the season still producing growth? Growth is not merely promotion. It is not a new title, a larger office, or constant novelty. Growth is increased capacity. It is deeper wisdom, stronger discipline, sounder judgment, more effective service, and a greater ability to develop other people. Write this law. Repetition can deepen mastery, or repetition can conceal stagnation. The difference is whether your capacity and contribution are still expanding. Do not run from a difficult season merely because development has become uncomfortable. Ask, what is this difficulty teaching me that comfort could never teach? Perhaps you are learning patience under pressure. Perhaps you are developing judgment where the answers are not obvious. Perhaps you are learning to lead people you did not choose. Some lessons arrive disguised as frustration. If you leave too early, you may escape the pressure and lose the preparation. But now ask the opposite question. What have I stopped learning because familiarity demands nothing new from me? What have you stopped attempting? What skill have you stopped improving? What responsibility have you avoided because your present competence keeps you comfortable? A role can be a training ground and then quietly become a hiding place. Before concluding that there is no room to grow, examine the room you already possess. Have you pursued a new project? Sought wise mentorship? Developed a needed skill? Prepared another person to lead? Propose a responsible redesign of your role? There is a difference between saying there is no room and admitting I have not used the room available. Yet there are seasons when available room is genuinely exhausted. Your next responsibility may require exposure the current role cannot provide, authority it cannot grant, or challenges it cannot offer. That does not make the present season worthless. It may mean the season has successfully developed what it was designed to develop. Now bring the four tests together. Does meaningful responsibility remain? Can your gift still contribute? Can you serve without violating integrity? Is your capacity still growing? Do not let one difficult morning overrule the pattern formed by these four answers. The pattern will tell you whether your role is still a training ground, has become a hiding place, or has completed its developmental purpose. This framework protects you from leaving too early. But wisdom must also protect you from staying too long. We must now confront the opposite error, remaining in a position after the assignment is over. Leaving too early can be irresponsible, but staying too long can also violate purpose. Write this reversal. Faithfulness is not measured only by your willingness to remain. It is also measured by your willingness to release what is complete. Why do people remain after an assignment has ended? The first reason is fear. They want the next season to provide guarantees before they release the present one. They demand a complete map, a protected income, a certain outcome, and the absence of risk. But transition rarely introduces itself with certainty. Fear says, do not move until nothing can go wrong. Purpose says, prepare wisely, then move when the assignment is complete. The second reason is familiarity. You know the routines. You understand the people. You have learned how to succeed without being stretched. Familiarity feels like peace because nothing surprises you. But comfort can become a cage when it no longer requires growth. The third reason is status. A title gives visibility. A position gives access. Authority gives influence. And when the assignment beneath these benefits has ended, you may begin serving the title instead of serving the purpose. The fourth reason is identity. You say, if I am no longer this manager, this leader, this expert, then who am I? But your worth did not begin with the position, and it does not expire when the position changes. You carried value into the role. The role did not manufacture your value. Ask yourself plainly, am I still serving the assignment, or am I protecting the benefits attached to it? Overstaying does not affect you alone. You may withhold opportunity from someone prepared to grow. You may block succession because no one is allowed to become ready. You may control information to remain indispensable. You may resist necessary change because the old structure protects your importance. That is not stewardship. That is possession. Release is not always evidence of failure. Sometimes release is the proof that the work succeeded. What you built should be strong enough to continue without being owned by you. Now name what you fear losing: income, title, relationships, certainty, influence, belonging. Then ask what future responsibility that fear may be delaying. Faithfulness means entering with purpose, serving with integrity, and leaving when the assignment is complete. And if the pattern now points toward completion, the final proof will not be an emotional farewell. It will be the quality of what you transfer. This is the fifth test. Can you leave through orderly transfer? Write this law. The way you leave reveals whether your departure is governed by purpose or reaction. Anyone can walk away when emotions are high. Stewardship asks whether you can close the season without corrupting what the season produced. An orderly exit carries 4 responsibilities. Finish what can reasonably be finished. Document what must continue. Prepare the people who will carry it. Communicate with integrity. Preparation may need to remain confidential for a time. That is wisdom. But confidential preparation must not become deceptive disengagement. Do not mentally resign while continuing to accept responsibilities you no longer intend to fulfill. Do not allow private plans to become quiet sabotage. Build a transition inventory. Which decisions are still pending? What knowledge exists only in your memory? Which deadlines are approaching? Which relationships require an introduction? What risks must be explained? Which responsibilities need a named owner? If essential work disappears when you disappear, the transfer is not complete. Now comes the test of character. When people feel ignored or mistreated, they are tempted to punish the organization on the way out. They withhold information. They damage trust. They recruit colleagues into division. They perform poorly during their final weeks and call it freedom. But revenge is not release. Speak truthfully about your reasons without turning the exit into a theater of accusation. Name what is necessary. Protect what is confidential. Refuse to rewrite the entire season as worthless merely because its ending is painful. A difficult conclusion does not erase every lesson, relationship, or contribution that came before it. Succession is multiplication. A mature worker does not prove importance by leaving chaos behind. You prove that you understood the assignment when what you built can continue, when someone else can carry the knowledge, and when your departure creates movement rather than confusion. Some exits will still be imperfect. Others may misunderstand you. Leadership may react poorly. Colleagues may feel disappointed. You cannot manage every response. You can manage your preparation, your words, your conduct, and your integrity. A clean transition is not administrative trivia. It is the final evidence that you completed the season as a steward rather than escaped it as a casualty. Now the 5 tests are before you: responsibility, contribution, integrity, growth, and transfer. But a framework without a decision can become another hiding place. Insight needs a timetable. Discernment must now become a plan. Now you must build a decision, not a drama. Return to the 5 tests: responsibility, contribution, integrity, growth, and transfer. Do not merely remember them. Put them on paper. Create 1 page for each test. On the first, record the responsibilities that remain. On the second, identify the contribution your gift can still make. On the third, name any integrity conflict precisely. On the fourth, examine the evidence of growth or stagnation. On the fifth, list what an orderly transfer would require. Record evidence, not impressions. I feel finished is an impression. The original responsibility has been fulfilled. My essential contribution is no longer required, and the work can be responsibly transferred, is evidence-based discernment. Then conduct a motive audit. Ask 3 questions. What pain am I trying to escape? What benefit am I afraid to lose? What responsibility is purpose asking me to accept? Your answers will expose both impulse and fear. Pain can push you out before the time. Benefits can hold you in beyond the time. Purpose will demand the courage to do neither. Next, seek wise and confidential counsel. Do not choose only people who will confirm the answer you already prefer. Find someone mature enough to challenge your impulsiveness and your hesitation. Good counsel does not make the decision for you. It helps you see what emotion may be hiding. Then have the necessary workplace conversations. Clarify expectations. Address boundaries. Ask about development. Attempt repair where repair is possible. Discuss transition where completion is clear. Do not conclude that nothing can change before you have responsibly tested what can change. Set a decision window appropriate to the seriousness of the situation. Discernment without a timetable can become delay wearing spiritual language. If harm or serious misconduct is involved, protection may require urgent action. Otherwise, give yourself enough time for clarity, but not enough time for fear to build a permanent home. Your decision will take one of three forms: recommit to the present assignment, renegotiate the conditions of service, or initiate an orderly exit. Whichever decision you make, attach a first action and a date. Schedule the conversation. Establish the boundary. Complete the promise. Prepare the transfer. Begin the transition. The framework has brought you from emotion to evidence and from evidence to action. Now, private discernment must become personal commitment. Finish what remains, release what is complete, and enter the future without guilt or fear. Now return to where we began. Boredom is a signal to examine, not an automatic release. Conflict is a summons to discern, not proof of a closed door. Difficulty is a condition to interpret, not a command to leave. Your assignment must govern your decision. Say these words with intention. I will not abandon what is unfinished. I will not occupy what is complete. I will not sacrifice integrity to preserve a position. Pause for a moment. Name the one responsibility you know must be completed. Now name the one fear you know must be confronted. Do not hide either one behind confusion. Submit your motives, your timing, your relationships, and your future plans to divine authority. Ask for wisdom, courage, and clean hands. But do not use prayer to postpone the action that clarity has already revealed. Spiritual accountability must produce practical obedience. Write your next move now. Schedule the conversation. Complete the commitment. Establish the boundary. Prepare the transfer. Begin the transition. Whatever responsibility belongs to you, give it a date. And remember, your decision reaches beyond you. A faithful ending can protect your colleagues. It can strengthen your successor. It can preserve the value created during the season. It can allow an organization to move forward without confusion and allow you to move forward without guilt. Purpose determines why you arrive. Purpose also helps determine when you depart. Stewardship governs everything between those moments. Courage carries you from one season into the next. So remain faithfully if the assignment continues. Repair courageously if the conditions can change. Depart honorably if the responsibility is complete. Make the first responsible move now. Carry no unfinished duty into your future and carry no completed season beyond its rightful end.